The second of my experiences with the Nazis took part during the last few weeks before the liberation. As the Russian front was coming closer, the SS got an order from Berlin to take us KZ inmates on a march toward the west. We left early in the morning and walked with a brisk step. As a result of my malnutrition, many of the inmates, after a few hours, started to fall back, and whoever fell back a step or two behind the last row was taken away to the forest and got a bullet in his head. I was getting physically exhausted and couldn't keep up. My feet were not obedient to my will anymore. There was no way to convince them to walk a little faster. No way to force them. Your feet were still moving, but at their own pace, and the pace was slowing down. It was a real fight with your own feet. When it started in the morning, I was in the middle of the marching column. Now I'll find myself in the last few rows. Every one of us in the back tried to force himself to a quicker step, but very few were able to do it, and one by one were pulled over to the forest. It was starting to get dark, and we didn't stop for rest yet. And we didn't get anything to eat, since the little slice of bread and watery coffee early in the morning. But nobody complained of hunger. We were used to it. But everybody was terribly exhausted. After all, our malnourished bodies were driven forward for so many hours. We needed some rest. Everyone was absorbed with a struggle to survive the next few minutes. The assessment must have been tired too, so eventually we'll stop for the night. Have to struggle a little longer and we'll get out our rest. Have to force our reluctant feet to a quicker step, not to be pulled over to the forest. We wanted to survive so badly, especially after we went through so much, and in spite of everything lasted until now. And especially when the war comes to an end. Maybe we'll be lucky and find our loved ones. All over the columns, some inmates were held by others, but more were lagging behind. The assessment were now busy pulling 2 prisoners at a time into the forest. I was determined not to give up, to keep on fighting with those stubborn feet. I wanted to survive until the end of this terrible war and get together with my family. But those feet felt heavy like lead. Every minute was an eternity. And there were so many eternities. But finally, there came a moment I started to think, maybe I'm fighting a lost battle. Maybe there's no hope for me. Maybe I am deluding myself. Utterly exhausted, wanted to lay down so badly, right here in the middle of the road. I don't care anymore what they do to me. To rest, rest, not to have to move anymore, no more. My brain must have realized that I was giving up because my legs slowed down even more. As I was saying goodbye to my family in my mind, I raised my eyes to look for the last time at the hell on earth I would escape. And what I saw hit me like a lightning from the sky. I saw myself marching in the last row while the SS were taking away another guy. Next to the forest could be me. Oh no, this will not happen. I am too young to die. I felt a hidden very small amount of energy getting into my feet, which helped me, albeit very slowly, to move one row ahead. Later on, one more. My feet and body worked like an old creaky machine, ready to break down any minute, but for now I was out of danger. I didn't know how long it took me to advance those 2 rows. Could have been a half an hour or maybe more, but it took every bit of strength from my body. Those last few hours I shall never forget as long as I live. Luckily, we finally stopped for the night. In the morning, there were quite a few who didn't make it through the night. We resumed our march late in the morning and stopped for a rest in the afternoon. We weren't driven anymore so harshly like the day before. On the 3rd day, we stopped for the night at a farm, and some 40 of us got to sleep in a pig store. This was the beginning or middle of April, and it was a cold night to sleep on a cement floor with very little straw for bedding. We stayed in this place more than a week, and our food rations got even smaller than before. It looked like they didn't know what to do with us. Finally, they decided to take us back to the camp we left almost 2 weeks before. This time they didn't take us by side roads, but the major direct ones, and we made it back in 2 days' time. Even so, we rested for more than a week. We still didn't have too much strength. Even so, we didn't walk too fast. Because we started early in the morning and walked until late in the evening. I was very exhausted, and when we were approaching the camp, almost in view of the entrance gates, I felt I was losing control of my body, and as I was swaying, ready to fall down, 2 inmates grabbed me under their arms. Once inside the camp, the kapos, that's a Jewish policeman, placed me in the revier. So in the end, after trying so hard to avoid it all the time, I landed there.